Gretchen, in every other scene, is saying something different. You know, in the car, she's saying, oh, well, I did feel kind of sick, you know, under her breath. I did feel kind of sick. And then in her confessional saying, oh, I thought I was with people that I loved and trusted. And then turning around and saying, no, I never said that. So which one is it? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture, live from my new house. First MPT episode that is happening in the new house. It doesn't feel like it because I've done 3 Patreon episodes in this new studio, so I feel like you guys have already seen all this, but you haven't. I mean, it looks kind of exactly the same, right? I mean, I tried to set it up as best as possible, but you guys know, I don't know. I don't know if you know what it's like to move into a new house, but like, wow. Brain on overload. I mean, me and ChatGPT have been BFFs, told me how to organize my kitchen, told me how to organize my laundry room. Like, I have such bad decision paralysis. I couldn't even decide like where the cutlery was supposed to go. Like, that's how bad it really was. And you know, my mom, she was in vacation in Florida. My mom does everything. I mean, she doesn't do everything for me, but she like, if you want something done, you call my mom. She was up here hanging the hangers and drilling holes in the wall. And I'm like, I don't even know how to hold a drill properly. My mom's just getting it done. So I was really missing her the first couple days, but you know, slowly but surely it's coming along. We're getting our feet underneath us. It feels really good. I'm not sure how it sounds in here, to be completely honest with you, because we decided to make the second biggest bedroom the podcast studio because why not? Like, we're going all out for MPT and seriously, right? Obviously, hello. Like, screw if I ever have a teenage child that needs a big room. No, you're going to get the baby room across the hall. I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, hopefully. But anywho, the sound isn't the best in here because it's like a big empty room, right? I have a pillow literally right next to me. You guys remember when I did that podcast episode in Nashville and I had like the pillows all around my floor? That's what's pretty much happening right now as well. But excited, feeling blessed, feeling happy. And yeah, I keep having to reschedule my nasal surgery because I'm going to be booked and busy this fall, right? Going on a vacation in October, going to BravoCon in November. And it's like, you're not supposed to fly for 3 to 4 weeks after having the surgery. So the first time they could get me in was like October 23rd. I can't even remember if I told you guys that I had to get 7 nasal surgeries done. That's how like my mind is working right now. Yeah, I have to get 7 nasal surgeries done. But yeah, so I was supposed to have it the 23rd, can't, family vacation. Then they're like, okay, let's do it the 30th. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds good. But then BravoCon's 2 weeks later. And I'm like, can I fly after having 7 nasal procedures done? Like, surely the pressure is going to make me pop a blood vessel in my nose. Don't want that to happen. So I'm going back and forth with the doctor on my chart. And he's like, yeah, you might want to reschedule. So now we're looking at November. Oof. So anyways, that's where I am right now. And then next week, I'm going to Scotland? What? Huh? What? Like, I've had this planned for a long time. One of our very dear friends is getting married. He's from Scotland. He actually was David's roommate in college, and we all met around the same time. So our friend Scott from Scotland, he has been along on our journey. So now it's our turn to come to Scotland to see him get married. I just feel like the past 3 months have just been crazy and I don't know what to do with myself. So I honestly don't even know. I don't even know if I should tell you guys this because it might be wrong, but I don't know if there's going to be an MPT episode next week because I leave on Wednesday, but I don't know what time. I don't know when I'm leaving to go to Scotland. So hopefully if it's late in the day, I'll be able to record a podcast episode. If there's no podcast episode next week, it's because I was on an airplane to Scotland, okay? We'll just leave it at that. And there you have it for the top of the show rant. Let's get into this week's Pop 3. These are the biggest headlines of the week. And we have to start With the biggest moment of today, right? The Dancing with the Stars cast was revealed this morning. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 7:45 this morning with my coffee, ready, watching Good Morning America to see who was going to be dancing this season on Dancing with the Stars. If you tuned in last week, I did give some predictions, and some of them were right. Some of them were right, some of them were wrong, I will say. So, I can admit to my faults. But let's go ahead and go through this cast list and I'll give you my thoughts. So we have Jordan Childs and Ezra Sosa. I love this pairing. I feel like Ezra needed, after being partnered with Anna Delvey last season for his first season, I thought Ezra deserves someone like Jordan Childs who you just know is going to eat it up. She's going to tear it up. She's an Olympic gymnast. She's going to be so good. So there's a height difference there. Obviously, all the gymnasts are so tiny, like height-wise. And then Ezra, I think he's like 6 foot. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I'm happy that Ezra got a partner that like actually wants to be there this time around. Corey Feldman and Jenna Johnson. We have Alex Earl and Val. Fifth Harmony star Lauren Jaragi and Brandon. We have Scott Hoying from Pentatonics with Riley Arnold. Here's a big one. We have Jen Affleck from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and a new cast member. His name is Jan. It's spelled Jan. Was a backup dancer for Taylor Swift. So all eyes are going to be on him and Jen. I feel like Jen is a good dancer. It's like, I don't really know. Would you want to be paired up with a brand new pro or I feel like you would want to have like a seasoned veteran with you just because there's a learning curve. Obviously, when you've done it a million times, you know what to expect, you know what judges look for, you know how it works. But at the same time, when you're partnered with Taylor Swift's backup dancer, like that's a conversation starter on its own, right? People love Taylor Swift. I'm sure people love Jan and want to see him stick around. So we'll see how that pans out. You have Whitney and Mark. Who's Whitney and Mark? Oh, Whitney and Mark Ballas. Duh. You guys, I was thinking Whitney Carson for a second. I'm going to get to Whitney Levitt and Mark Ballas in a second because I actually am the most excited about them. But let's keep going through this list. So Andy Richter and Emma, Elaine Hendricks and Alan. I love this. Meredith Blake. The Parent Trap, you guys. It Takes Two, Mary-Kate and Ashley, and The Parent Trap, Lindsay Lohan, raised me. Like that, those two movies were my whole entire personality from age 7 to 13. So seeing Meredith Blake, I hope she remember when she was in the woods and she was like, with the sticks and scaring the mountain lions away. Like do a little improv. Get back in the workout suit, get the sticks out. Get the hair twirled up in the clip. Like, oh, that look just had us in such a chokehold. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit much. But NBA All-Star Baron Davis and Britt. We have Hilaria Baldwin and Gleb. Yes, you guys, I am in the middle of Love Thy Nader, which we also will be discussing Love Thy Nader at the end of this week's episode. So at this current moment, I'm anti-Gleb, okay? We know that Brooks and Gleb had this on-again, off-again relationship. Screamed toxicity from the rooftops. Like it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Brooks and Gleb were a toxic couple together, right? But watching this show, I really didn't realize how bad it was between Brooks and Gleb. There's all these cheating allegations, and of course, Gleb deny. But look, when the ex-wife also says, yeah, we got divorced because he cheated on me, it's like, what do you want us to believe? Brooks is hysterically sobbing on the bathroom floor, and you want me to believe that they're just making it up for TV? No, I believe these things, right? So the fact that he's with Hilaria Baldwin, I love it. Okay, Robert Irwin and Whitney. That's going to be great. I love Whitney. Okay, Topanga and Pasha. I shouldn't say Topanga. I should call her by her real name. Danielle Fishel and Pasha. Love that. My second most excited couple, Dylan Efron and Daniela Katagash. Oh my gosh. First of all, the hotness. I mean, have you ever seen two more beautiful people besides Dylan Efron and Daniela Katagash? Like, I don't think I will be able to look at them for too long without experiencing some things, that I haven't experienced before. I just cannot wait to see the two of them together. I love Daniela. I love her choreography. I love Dylan. I love his personality. I don't know if he can dance, but hello, his brother was dribbling a basketball singing bet on it, get your head in the game. So I have to assume that runs in the DNA. I just have to assume that. And I have to assume that they are going to do a long run on this season of Dancing with the Stars. I'm really hoping for it. Mark Ballas and Whitney Levitt is going to be so good. I don't think you understand. Honestly, they might be my winner pick. I mean, I know it's entirely too early to do a blind prediction, but Mark Ballas and Whitney Levitt, they have everything you need to make it to the finals, and I haven't even seen them dance together, right? First of all, Mark is a fan favorite. He's returning. He's been gone for a while on the floor. He was there last season as a guest judge, but people love Mark. And when you have someone come back that the fans absolutely love, there is this feeling of like nostalgia and comfort, and you want to see them around for a long time. And then Whitney, I mean, take one look at her TikTok, and that girl has everything you need to win the Mirrorball trophy. She's confident. She has a willingness to perform and not hold back. Like, she does not care. She's a star, in my personal opinion. She has dance experience. So as much as I will be rooting for Dylan and Daniela, Mark Ballas and Whitney Levitt, they're going to kill it. They are going to crush it. I can't wait to see how they do. Let's move on to headline number 2. Travis Kelce is speaking out about his engagement to Taylor Swift on this week's episode of New Heights. I have listened to more of New Heights in the past, 3 weeks than I ever would have imagined in my entire life. But you know what? I do it for you. So on this week's episode, he opened up for the first time about his engagement to Taylor Swift, saying he felt giddy, excited. He says it's been really fun telling everybody who I'm going to be spending the rest of my life with. Like, we don't know, like, it's Taylor Swift. He's like, yeah, I'm just telling Uncle Joe who I'm going to be spending the rest of my life. We know it's Taylor Swift, okay? Like, hello. He expressed gratitude to all the fans, friends, and family who've reached out with messages and well wishes. He says it's so cool to call someone your fiance. Last week, they went to the University of Nebraska versus the University of Cincinnati game. He's like, I was proudly introducing Taylor as my fiance to some of my former teammates. He said it was the first time introducing Taylor as my fiance. It was pretty cool. You guys, I don't know why I'm like geeking out. Could you imagine like calling Taylor Swift your fiance? I feel like that is the biggest flex of all time. When it comes to giving proposal advice to his listeners, he said, you gotta know your gal. He says, and you can't let how somebody else does it make you feel like you got to do it that way. You might be able to get some ideas. It might get the creative juices flowing, but at the end of the day, he says, know your partner and know who you're doing it for. Everything else will be beautiful. And truly, it will be. I just cannot wait for the wedding content, you guys. I have no idea what it's going to like. Try for a second envisioning Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's wedding. Like, I can't. It feels very like two different aesthetics going on. So I wonder what the wedding is going to look like. But hey, Taylor Swift goes big or she goes home. And honestly, I feel like Travis Kelce does too. So can't wait for that. Who knows when it's going to happen. All right, let's move on to headline number 3. The Real Housewives of Orange County has fans divided over this Katie Janela storyline talking to Kiki Monique about something that happened, 10 years ago on the Real Housewives of Orange County. So in this week's episode, they sit down for a lie detector test, and it really riled the feathers of all the fans watching Orange County this season because, well, for a couple different reasons. First of all, they're really coming for Katie because of what she allegedly told this blogger, that Gretchen said at a dinner that she had to go to the hospital after one of the parties that was filmed on Orange County, and they found something in her blood insinuating that Tamra drugged her, right? Well, then Katie turned around and said that to Kiki Monique, and then that's how we got here, right? So they're like, let's take a lie detector test. And everybody has opinions about it because, first of all, lie detector tests aren't exactly reliable. And the person that was putting this event on, Emily wasn't doing the lie detector test, but it was at her house, it was at her party. They did the lie detector test in her closet. She's a lawyer. So people are like, Emily, you know that lie detector tests are admissible in court. They're not very reliable. So why are you like spearheading this lie detector test to like catch Katie in all her lies is what they wanted to do, right? Well, lie detector tests, like nervousness can make somebody fail even if they are truthful, which could have been what happened to Katie. I mean, she was throwing up in the bathroom before doing this lie detector test in Emily's closet. Calm liars can sometimes pass. There's countermeasures like controlled breathing, biting your tongue. It can fool the results. So the cast results, other little tidbits, Jen, they said, oh, you failed significantly when having any reservations about marrying Ryan. Heather, it said, oh, you didn't call the paparazzi on yourself and that you'd rather be a Beverly Hills housewife. Gretchen passed the whole thing truthfully. And then Katie, they're like, Katie, you failed epically on this lie detector test. You failed every single question. You were the worst one. So everybody's screaming at Katie saying you're such a liar. Emily essentially kicks her out of her home. So I know what people are saying right now because the whole thing is like such a jumbled mess, right? But we all agree that like Katie lied. Katie lied in the fact that she told Kiki this information. We all believe that Katie told Kiki this information, right? But Gretchen in every other scene is saying something different. In the car, she's saying, oh, well, I did feel kind of sick, under her breath. I did feel kind of sick. And then in her confessional saying, oh, I thought I was with people that I loved and trusted. And then turning around and saying, no, I never said that. So which one is it, right? Gretchen surely couldn't have passed her lie detector test with flying colors and had it been accurate when she has given 3 different stories to everybody else on the cast. So people are like, why is this Orange County cast not also holding Gretchen's feet to the fire? It feels like they are ready to burn Katie at the stake, but Gretchen, they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. Well, Tamra has said, we brought up the fact that Gretchen did say it on camera multiple times, but for some reason it wasn't included in the edit. So it does make you wonder, like, why are those decisions being made as well? It's one thing for the cast to do and say whatever, but then when you're editing down an episode and you have someone like Tamra saying, well, Gretchen did say that to us. The fact that we're not seeing that as viewers, like, to me, that's swaying the story in one direction. So it just makes you wonder what the real story is. I don't think anybody knows at this moment. Emily on the after show said, Jen's the only one who can really clarify this because she was there. You have Katie's story, you have Gretchen's story, and then you have Jen who's in the middle of it. But Jen won't give a clear answer either. She's kind of like Gretchen, seesawing, going back and forth. Katie's like, I think that Jen doesn't want to get involved in the mess. I agree with that. I think Jen by nature is a very kind person, but sometimes kind people can also be people pleasers. I am one myself, so sometimes it's hard to like really stand 10 toes down behind what you think and feel because you care more about other people's feelings than you do your own opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of feel like that's where Jen is at in the moment. And I think she sees that everybody else is against Katie and she doesn't want to go against the grain. Like I said, it all boils down to, I think, not having the same energy for everyone involved. I wish Katie would own up to telling Kiki. I wish Gretchen would own up to at least the story that she told at the dinner party. But fans also don't ever like a pile on. So when it's an entire cast versus one person, that's never going to bode well, I think, for the rest of the women. Housewives in today's day and age are protective because there is so much social media influence. So I almost feel like in Housewives of 2025. If you're leaking stories to content creators or bloggers or whatever you want to call it, that's like the worst offense to some of these housewives because it proves that they can't really trust you. And you have to have trust in order to be friends with people, right? So it feels like that is an offense that you can't come back from. It feels like that's what they're at least portraying to Katie. I mean, I saw right before I jumped on here that Gina had said something along the lines of, if Katie comes back, I might have to quit. That's not happening. Like, Gina's not quitting the Real Housewives of Orange County if Katie comes back. But it will be interesting to see how that all plays out, in the next couple episodes into the reunion and into next season, because I don't think that the women anticipated the fans liking Katie as much as they do, even though she did lie. All right, let's move on to this week's deep dive. Got to talk all about Bachelor in Paradise, the finale. An interesting season, right? A whole new Bachelor in Paradise that we've never really seen before. So what worked, what didn't work? Where do I think they go from here? So just to recap, we come into this episode with a final vote. We're saying goodbye to two other couples to give us our final three. Kathy and Keith go home, no surprise there. And then Jeremy and Bailey go home, which Jeremy was kind of bitter about. I think it was the right decision. I feel like, Spencer and Jess are such a strong couple. Alex and Andrew were such a strong couple. And then Kat and Dale, I feel like could have also been in the same category as Jeremy and Bailey. But I think all the drama with Susie made it easier for Jeremy and Bailey to go home. But they are dating now, so that's interesting. I'm interested to hear Bailey's reaction to the entire show, watching it back on this random podcast reunion. Like, you want to know how the Bachelor franchise is like hemorrhaging money, that they're streaming their reunion on YouTube on their podcast. It's like kind of crazy when you think about it. But anyways, we get to this final challenge, relationship test. And what I didn't like about this finale is that the final challenge had nothing to do with the relationship to get them to the finale, right? Like, they just had to sit there and hold their body weight. And I'm like, okay, am I watching Survivor, or what is this? And then they just fall into the pool. Like, it just seemed kind of odd. Like, the final test with those final three should have been something about their relationship, not just a physical challenge, or even a combination of both, right? Like, answer questions about your partner. If you get it right, you don't have to add weight. If you get it wrong, they have to add weight. It just seemed kind of random. But the athletes are out first. Dale and Kat, the athletes. I hate that. Anyways, sore losers too. Gotta say. But the stakes are higher. Like, if I had just let go of my rope and my shot at $50,000 was down the tubes, I probably would react the same way. But Alex and Andrew won. And in the meantime, we're getting all of this background about how Spencer is going to propose to Jess. So that's kind of how we get to the point where the Parliament of Paradise enters. Sean's coming back and he's ready to go nuclear. And this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. This is the moment that we have seen in the trailer. We've heard this moment talked about on podcasts. Did Kat have a boyfriend at home? Did she sneak in a laptop? Was she writing messages on her arm? Kat literally said, like, he lets this all out on the table. Kat starts crying. She walks away. She's talking to Dale. She literally said, I didn't come here to find any relationship. So the timeline is blurry, and with her running away, in my opinion, could be seen as an admission of guilt. We never really get an explanation from Kat in the finale of Bachelor in Paradise because she didn't want to talk about it on camera, which also could potentially look like an admission of guilt. I don't know. I wasn't there. Do I think that there are parts of it that are true? Probably. Do I think that there are parts of it that are false? Probably. I mean, Kat has hinted throughout the entire time on the show that she wasn't fully invested. She didn't want to get engaged on the show. She said absolutely not when she was asked. She has said to Dale now in this final episode, I didn't think I was going to walk away with any serious relationship. When you think about what Alicia and Zoe were saying, that Kat was writing messages on her arm for a guy back home, I mean, Zoe did room with Kat, and Zoe did go home early in the process. So Kat could have been doing those things early in the process. Zoe leaves, and then after Zoe leaves, she starts to actually fall more in love with Dale. Like, it's possible. Two things can be true at the same time. I think Kat could have come in with a not serious mindset, a pessimistic view on being on Bachelor in Paradise, and she could have been caught off guard and really fell for Dale. In my opinion, in the episode, Kat got off too easy. We see Dale question it for like 30 seconds. And then the next thing you know, he's making this big announcement in front of the entire group, standing by her side. I would have liked a little more context as to the conversation that happened between Dale and Kat behind closed doors. We didn't get it, but we got it on the Vile files, unfortunately. And basically, she said, no, I didn't have a boyfriend. I had like a situationship back home. I didn't know that I was going to go on Bachelor in Paradise, so I didn't want to stop living my life. I was still talking to people, but it was never that serious. It was a toxic situation. So I used Bachelor in Paradise to kind of break away from this relationship. I didn't need to call him after Paradise and say, oh, we're broken up because I found love with Dale. She said it wasn't like that because we weren't seriously dating. She said, but I did have a conversation with him about what Sean said because I wanted to see, what message was relayed to him and vice versa or whatever. This is how you know the Bachelor Nation has come a long way, because if this would have happened however many years ago, like, there would have been wrath. There would have been fury. I mean, hello, Jed Wyatt. Do we not remember? Sean and Alicia, I'm sorry, I still don't know how to, I've said it a million times and I still don't know what's the correct way, and I apologize for that. But anyways, in the normal world, weird behavior, weird behavior to clink the glass and make this grand announcement. In Bachelor world, par for the course, I'm not going to sit here and say that it didn't make the show interesting. It did. Kat and Dale got voted out that night. Is that surprising to anybody? It really shouldn't be. Okay. So another little tidbit that I found interesting here was Jeremy's vote. So Jeremy walks up to the camera and he says, I'm only voting for Alex and Andrew because Dale and Spencer, I'm just returning the favor. Well, I don't think Alex and Jeremy are on good terms either, because I was listening to Bachelor Happy Hour. I covered this on the Bachelor Patreon earlier this week, and Alex said she hasn't talked to Jeremy since the season started airing. She says, when all of the heat kind of went to us, even that night I checked up on him, I was a little disappointed that I never received a text or anything. So it's definitely, I'm trying to figure that out right now. She says it's tough looking back at the whole show, the things he said about Bailey. It's tough to say, is this someone that I would still want to have in my life? Now, Alex also said before Paradise, her and Jeremy were really close. So to see that they potentially aren't friends anymore is something we'll have to tune into the podcast to find out. Okay, final test, love or money. $250,000 up for grabs. If you choose love, go upstairs, wait for your person to show up. Jesse says, if you choose love, you'll be walking away from potentially guaranteeing yourself $250,000. The 250 is because there were two couples in the end that broke up the 500,000. So when I heard Jesse say potentially, I was like, oh, so they're getting the money anyways, right? Listen to the sentence again. If you choose love, you'll be walking away from potentially guaranteeing yourself $250,000. I'm like, they're getting the money anyways. That's what this is about. So if you choose love, you go up to the suite, you wait for your person. If they don't come up, that means that they have chosen money over love. You'll leave Paradise empty-handed and they'll leave $250,000 richer. If they both choose money, they leave with nothing. So Andrew chooses love, but he expresses that he wants Alex to take the money because he knows how much she needs it to pay off her student loan debt. And we have heard for the past couple of weeks a lot about Alex and her student loan. Not a lot, but they definitely were putting those sound bites in there to make us believe there was a real reason why Alex would want to choose money over Andrew. And Andrew's like, if that money is going to make her life easier and make her happy, I want her to take the money. Alex chooses love. Andrew's happy. He's crying. They're clearly in love with each other, but he's like, why didn't you take the money? And that's how I know that they're actually in love with each other. You know what I mean? hello, take the money. We can get back together in a couple of months. I want you to be able to pay off your student loan debt. He's like, what are you doing, girl? And she's like, the money doesn't compare to you. And he's like, yeah, but if you would have slid into my DMs 3 months later, we could have rekindled and you would have been debt free. Like, that's how I know he loves her. And I mean, they still walked away with $125,000 anyways. So then we get to Jess and Spencer. And this is not so much about whether or not they're going to choose love. We all know that they're going to choose love. They've been obsessed with each other for day one. It's more about, is Spencer going to propose and what is Jess going to say? So I'm just going to be completely honest. I will say Spencer and Jess they're so cute. And you can tell like they really are in love with each other. I think they're going to be very happy in their relationship. But I did find the narrative to be a little annoying. Because the whole episode, we kept getting little glimpses of Jess clearly uncomfortable with the idea of Spencer proposing. She was hesitant. I was surprised that Spencer didn't pick up on that energy at all. He's picking out rings. She's saying she doesn't think she's even ready to move in with him. She's saying that she has anxiety about the proposal. So they both get up there and choose love. They then win $190,000 and then he proposes. The emotional high that Jess had to be in that moment. How do you say no to a proposal in that moment if you're Jess? And I'm not saying that she wanted to say no, but I'm just saying it was pretty contradictory to everything that we saw her say the entirety of the season when it came to the pace of their relationship. But if I'm Jess and we both just said yes to love and we won $190,000 and then the man of my dreams gets down on one knee and proposes to me even though I've only known him for 14 days, I'm saying yes too, because who wants to ruin the moment? And it might not even be so like cut and dry as who wants to ruin the moment, but it's like you're in this heightened emotional state where everything is rainbows and roses and $109,000. And how do you say no to a proposal under those circumstances? You guys get what I'm saying? So, I mean, and like I said, I think that they're a great couple and I think that they will stay together for a long time. I hope that they work out and last and get married. And I guess it's just they needed to make it high stakes, right? They needed to make it seem like there was a potential that Jess would say no, even though they never, like, do they ever say no? Very rarely they say no. I'd love to hear her thoughts on that now. And I'm sure we will on this podcast reunion. Like, was she self-sabotaging maybe? I do like that this season of Bachelor in Paradise, it seemed to have decentralized the engagement portion of it. You know, in seasons past, that was the high stakes moment. And a criticism of the Bachelor franchise in the past couple of years is that none of the couples stay together, right? And is that because the engagement portion of the show is rushed? They really don't know each other. And that's, like I said, the high stakes moment. Well, this season, it seemed to be like the proposal was an option and the high stakes moment was the money, which I'm not really mad about that. You know, I found myself being just as invested in watching Alex and Andrew solidify their relationship, even though they're boyfriend and girlfriend, as I did Jess and Spencer solidifying their relationship as fiancés. So I liked that. And I think maybe it will help us as a fan base not be so up in arms if they don't end up lasting. Overall, I did enjoy the new Paradise. I think the end, specifically the last episode, kind of got a little to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Like, first of all, you're having, you know, people vote each other out. You're having everybody come back to vote. Then you're having a physical challenge. Then you're having a love or money test. Then you're having like a Russian roulette, pick a check. And then you're having potential proposals. Like, it was a lot. I don't know that I loved all of that in there. I know a lot of people didn't like this revamped Bachelor in Paradise. I think it needed a refresh. I think it needed to be shot like it was in 2025, look newer, feel newer. And I think all of those things happen. I would like to see it somewhere in the middle, a little bit of a balance between this new Paradise and this old Paradise. The thing is, they're going to have to keep these people on their toes because they can't pull the same tricks every time, or every couple's going to know, don't pick the money, we'll get money anyways. So We'll see where that leads us. We'll see about this podcast reunion. So odd. Like, it's the oddest thing ever, in my personal opinion. All right, let's move on to our final thoughts. I want to talk about Love Thy Nader. This is a brand new show about the Nader sisters on Freeform and Hulu. We were introduced to the show through Brooks. Brooks is the most famous of the sisters, but there's Brooks, there's Mary Holland, there's Grace Ann, and then there is Sarah Jane. And honestly, I was blown away by this new reality show. Those girls are stars. Every single one of them, I think, are stars. Even mom and dad. I loved mom and dad. So it follows Brooks Nader and her three sisters all living together in New York City. Now, Brooks is not new to the spotlight. She's been modeling for years. A lot of people really got to know her on Dancing with the Stars last season when she was paired with Gleb Savchenko. Very public, very messy, on again, off again relationship that they had. It definitely shaped how people saw her in the moment. I will say, watching Love Thy Nader, I have a completely different perspective on Brooks than I did A, watching Dancing with the Stars, and B, following the headlines that followed her and Gleb after her time on the show. I thought on Dancing with the Stars, she felt a little standoffish, maybe even a little bit cold. On Love Thy Nader, she's funny, she's honest, she's relatable, she seems like a blast to hang out with. So I was really surprised. And while Brooks is the star of the show, all of the sisters bring something to the table. Mary Holland is feels like the nurturer to me. She's the responsible one, although she did quit her job, but she's starting like a finance startup. Grace Ann trying to get back into modeling, and the youngest, Sarah Jane, who's just like the most beautiful human I've ever seen in my entire life. She's like young, wild, and free, talking about her dating experiences, breaking away from the traditional mold that she was brought up in, and how that impacts her mentally and her experiences with her family. So the show has so many different really deep stories that they talk about, but there's lightness to it because they're sisters, because they argue like sisters. And a lot of people have been comparing it to early seasons of the Kardashians. And I have to say, like, I agree. It feels very early seasons of the Kardashian. I think Love Thy Nader taps into something that's really been missing from reality TV in the last couple of years, and that is the stars of the show not caring about social media or the internet's opinions. It's so refreshing because I feel like they are being 100% true to themselves and not really caring about what people say, because we've gotten to the point in entertainment television where everybody is so afraid to do or say the wrong thing that nothing comes across as authentically as it has maybe in the past. I feel like Love Thy Nader feels very authentic. I mean, they're talking about everything from alcohol issues to GLP-1s to all of their relationship drama to the pressures of modeling. So I hope that the Nader sisters don't ever reach that level of fame where they decide to hold back because it's too hard to deal with all of the negativity to really give it their all. I feel like that's what happened with the Kardashians. Early on, they really were able to make a name for themselves in the reality TV space because they let it all out there. They got so famous that they started to hold back, whether it was Kim and Kanye or Khloe and Tristan or, Kourtney and all of her boundaries. We don't even need to go there. And I feel like, kind of was at the show's detriment. People really don't talk about the Kardashians show the same way that they did in its peak. So I feel like I hope the Nader girls learn something from that and don't ever reel it in at, well, okay, like if it comes to affecting their mental health, then obviously that's different. We'll have that conversation. But as long as they are good mentally and open and willing, I think the show is going to continue to be such a huge success. I really enjoyed it, you guys. I can't lie, and I can't wait for a season 2. I think it was 8 episodes. It took me like 3 days, I want to say, to watch it. So if you're looking for a new show, Love Thy Nader is the place for you. And like I said earlier, I followed the Gleb and Brooks drama because, it's my job. And we talked about Gleb maybe not coming back to Dancing with the Stars. Well, now he is. And I was like, well, it might be at an unfair disadvantage to his partner because there will be certain people out there that aren't going to want to vote for Gleb after they see all of the stories, after they see Brooks crying on the bathroom floor over him cheating on her in the Joshua tree. And I was like, oh, is it that serious? Well, now I don't want to vote for Gleb in Hilaria. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I'm Team Brooksy. Got to say. All right, you guys, maybe I'll see you next week. If I don't, just know that I'm on a plane. Okay? Okay. Make sure you tune into Bravo Friday on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. Leave a review if you have not done so. A little 5-star boop boop. A little love you like a sis. If not, I'll see you sometime. I don't really know when. Love you like a sis.